Hey guys, it's Brechtje and today I'm going to be doing the first in a series of videos where I'm going to be talking about books that weren't originally published in English but rather in another language, and I'm trying to read those books in their original language. The first book that I want to talk about today is a Swedish book. It's called Alla vi barn i Bullerbyn. I believe the English translation of this book is called The Children of Noisy Village. This book is written by Astrid Lindgren, who also wrote Pippi Longstocking, and it's actually a series of 3 books, but they're the kind of books that you can read separately, I think, and I've read the first 2 books of this series in Swedish, but years ago I read all 3 of them in Dutch. This book is about 6 children who live in a very small village in Sweden. The village actually only consists of 3 houses. The main character Lisa is about 7 years old, I think, when the story starts out. She has 2 older brothers, Lasse and Bosse, and in one of the other houses lives another boy called Ulle, and in the last house live 2 sisters called Britta and Anna. Together these kids have all kinds of adventures, and it's just really sweet because the kind of things they do, they're like looking for treasures, or they're baking a cake, or they're just going to the store because their mom wants them to, or things like that. So it's just really sweet. And I really used to love these stories as a kid because they're just so relatable. Even though these books were written so many years ago, I believe the first one was written in 1946, but still it was really relatable to me as a kid because it's just about all the things that kids really worry about, like what they're gonna get for their birthday or what they're gonna do during the summer, things like that. And also I found their relationships really relatable, especially Lisa's relationship with her older brother, because I also have an older brother and it was just really relatable. But even though these books were written so many years ago, I never really noticed that when I was a kid. I mean, now that I read them, I do obviously notice it because there is a lot less technology than there is nowadays, because they don't have a phone in their village. If they want to call someone, they have to go to the next village to do so. But all the other things, like the things that the kids really care about and the things they like to do in their free time are really just the things that I cared about as a kid. So that really proves that this is a wonderful classic. I think these are really good books to read if you're learning Swedish, because the great thing about these is that because the kids go on all these kind of small adventures, pretty much every chapter is a story on its own. It's one of these small adventures that they go on, and it's not really the kind of book that you have to read in one go. You can just read one chapter and then you can put it down for a while and then just continue without really having to remember a really complicated plot, because reading in another language that you're not too familiar with costs a lot of effort, and if you have to read it all the time and can just read something else in between, it can get a little bit annoying and can take away the fun of learning this new language. So if you want to learn Swedish, this is definitely a good book to pick up, I think. There is something that I noticed about the way that Astrid Lindgren writes certain words that I wasn't really sure why she did this. For example, when the subject of a sentence is they, in Swedish that's dom, but you write it D-E, at least that's the way I learned it, but in this book she actually write it D-O-M, so it's written a lot more like the way it sounds. And this was the same for the word says, which is säger in Swedish, but I learned to write it with a G, but in this book it's written with a J, and that also to me looks a lot more like the way it sounds. But I'm not really sure if it's written this way because it's an older book, or if it's just something that's done in certain regions of Sweden, or if you can actually use both versions of these words. But I haven't actually seen them written this way before, so I'm not really sure. But if you happen to notice, please let me know in the comments down below, because I'd love to know that. And also, if you have any recommendations for books that were originally written in Swedish but aren't too complicated, please let me know. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye!